It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No!
Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner in this.
He doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down. Michael for three. Yes! She is gone!
I don't believe what I just saw. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. You believe in miracles? Yes!
You may fire when ready.
What?
Hello, everyone. How are we on a Thursday? Bumpy road heading into tonight. I don't know if what kind of quality we're pumping out there through the internet. I know we had some issues last week. It was a great deal of fun, a lot of bitching out there that something about FPS, which I'm assuming is frames per second. And I initially thought maybe I just didn't have enough sunscreen on, but I'm dyslexic, so I had the letters scrambled around. Baseball is continuing down a path of screwing everything up, and we're here to talk about that tonight. And we're also going to talk about the exciting Cubs draft picks that my co-hosts were talking before we went live tonight. And I'm telling you right now, it was like getting a Novocaine injection straight into my frontal lobe, the 3 seconds that I caught of it. So we'll go ahead and bring those guys on board now, because I know that it's a riveting. And let's talk about let's save this draft talk for a little bit later, because we got to get something else, I think, out of our way right now, and that is just the ongoing back and forth of what's going on in baseball, and why baseball doesn't have a plan in place, or at least an announcement that it's coming back, because I think guys are running out of time. I don't know how they think they're going to fit in 70-plus games, 80-plus games if they don't get their ass in gear. So I want to get your thoughts on it. So, gentlemen, I don't even know who to start with. Elliott, I opened this up before I turned my mute off, and so I was a screw up on my part, but I've saved it for you. So when you've got one ready, fire away. Baseball.
I feel like it's the same story week after week. We're just getting closer and closer to that deadline of no baseball. And I feel like they keep tickling me a little bit, and I keep trying to bat it away. Like, I don't care. Unless you have something substantial, stop. Because it's all it is story after story of, well, if they do this and if they do that, these guys need to come together. They need to figure out a way. And it just seems like the owners don't want to, unless they're, gonna get rid of that $11 million loss or whatever. And it's unless the players get their prorated pay.
Pete, you've got to have a thought around this. I mean, they've had time now, and really, I know as we left last week, we were kind of pessimistic, but I'd still say that most of us, if we had to throw our money down on it, we'd say we're getting some type of season here in 2020. Certainly, they're smart enough to not screw this up long term, right?
Long term, no, that's completely screwed. Short term, it sounds like they're getting what they want. Manfred made it pretty clear they're going to play a season this year, and if it's 50 games, so be it. But I think that the long-term damage because of that, the way that they're dragging this out in order to get to that 50 games, is going to severely harm the game. Yeah, and
you got to think about this too, right, Pete? Like, how great is it going to be? Because we got to think that there are some players that are going to sit this out, right? There's some players that are going to want to make a statement, and they're going to be high profile, and they're going to want to sit it out. I think, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt. And the sad thing about that is that is that they're absolutely justified, and it's frustrating that they're going to screw up this opportunity. And it didn't help that Bill DeWitt said the quiet part out loud, and put it in really unfortunate terms. Because most people are just reacting to what he said. And obviously that is that baseball isn't a real good thing to make money. And you know what? I don't doubt that. That's absolutely true. The guys who own baseball teams are billionaires, and they didn't make billions of dollars owning baseball teams, right?
Yeah.
They made their billions in other industries that are far more profitable. And I'm sure that on a year-to-year basis, you don't make a lot of money in baseball, particularly if you own a team like the Oakland A's, right? They didn't buy the Oakland A's to make a lot of money. They bought the Oakland A's because they wanted to own a baseball team. And yes, I understand that the valuations go up. The problem is that you can't tap those valuations. I mean, Ron, do you feel like a wealthy man because you own a house outside of Charlotte, North Carolina? I mean,
no.
that doesn't make you can't access that money, right? You can't access that money until you sell your house.
Yeah.
And it is appreciating, but it's of no value to you right now other than as a domicile.
Well,
the only value of a baseball team to these guys right now is in being the owner of a baseball team, right? They don't make a lot of money on these teams traditionally.
Well, and
yes,
somebody,
if they hold on long enough, they're going to make money on selling it. But how many of them do you think really want to sell it? Like, it certainly seems like the Ricketts want to be in this for the long haul, that they want this to be something that the Ricketts family owns for generations, not for, 30 years and then they cash out.
Well, somebody cleared it up this week, and not even cleared it up. Look, listen, I don't care what anybody does for a living. I don't. But when you're in a business side of things, you tend to understand what DeWitt was really talking about. Now, he might have forgot for a brief moment in time, like nobody knows. When you say profit margin out loud, people automatically default to, oh, you're not making enough millions of dollars yourself, so it's not profitable. No, that's really not what he meant. Now, my bet is I wish he could go back and state that a little bit different for the casual fan, or maybe somebody who doesn't look at a P&L every day and understand that. Look, there have been other billionaires, millionaires that own businesses that have talked about, I'm going to say his name because this is the one I remember. Trump was on one of those late night talk shows years ago, before he was ever elected. Somebody asked him why he didn't invest into a sports team. And he said the same thing at that point. They're not that profitable of businesses. A lot of friends I know that own them don't make a lot of money off of them. And why? I mean, look, think what you want about him, but this was a time where he wasn't in politics. And he's not the only guy who I've ever heard say that. People that have a lot of money and buy these teams, Pete, I think to your point, that's what they want to do. I mean, it's almost like a freaking hobby to some of these guys. You think Jerry Jones needs the Dallas Cowboys to make a living? No, he doesn't. Does Steinbrenner need the Yankees to make a living? No, he doesn't. They had businesses outside of this. Really.
Yeah, Jerry Reinsdorf does not make his money off of owning the Bulls and the White Sox.
No, he doesn't.
He didn't purchase the Bulls because he had made so much money off the Sox.
I can't speak for every business, but the ones that I've been involved in, when you get down to the EBIT line, that's the earnings before interest and taxes. The businesses I've been a part of, a lot of them have been like, hey, 10%'s good, right? That's a good number to hit. 10% EBIT's good to hit. And I don't know where baseball falls. But if they're saying like, hey, look, in this industry, it's typically 50% profit margins. This industry might be 35. I don't know what baseball's is, but I'm willing to bet, man, it's a little low. And the other thing that people need to understand, the owners are the last ones to get paid, man. They're the last ones in line. The players are up front. The employees are up front. All the shit they buy, the inventory that they pack into that ballpark, all of that stuff has to be paid. Any investments you've made to reinvest into your team, all that money has to be paid before you see a dime. So I see a lot of default outrage just specifically to owners. Look, and I'm not saying they walk on water. I get pissed off at my ownership group all the time for deals they make and then deals they don't make. Most of the time for deals they don't make. But
that having been said, they have completely screwed up this negotiation.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. But what bugs me is just the default outrage, strictly, mostly towards just ownership, and everybody At least a lot of the people I know out here on social media, like you can tell, man, it's no different than politics. If you're a Democratic candidate says one thing, you believe it. Republican candidate says something, yeah, man, that's complete horse shit. He's a liar. He or she's a liar. Sorry. And in this baseball politics, it's the same way. If it comes out of an owner's mouth, it's complete hogwash. I discount it. If it comes from a player, oh my God, it's from the top of the mountain. It should be written. It should be the 11th commandment what that player said. And this is horse shit. There's a story to each side of it. The truth is somewhere in the middle. But this is not 100% about pure greed on ownership's part. It's not. And you got to remember, we're talking about 30 businesses, 30 franchises out there. Not all of them are in their same financial situation as the next guy or the next guy or the next guy. And so if a Red Sox or Yankees owner is behind the owner's plan, trust me, guys, it's for the teams like Pittsburgh. It's for the teams like Oakland. It's not for them. They might be handling this differently, but not every team can do that.
And, Ron, as veterans of the 94 strike, you and I know this. It only takes a couple of hardline owners to drive this completely off the rails.
Sure.
I guarantee you it's probably a minority, but there is a group of owners that are like, guys, can we just play baseball?
Yeah, no doubt. And then there's some owners that can't afford to. They can't afford to because they're paying for
Oakland
it.
is probably at the top of that list.
Probably. And if they cave on something right now, or those teams have to be delicate with their plans, right? That's why teams like Pittsburgh and Kansas City and Oakland, they don't go rushing out and signing free agents, because if they do it wrong, they're screwed for years. If the Red Sox do it wrong, they usually can just buy their way out of it. The Yankees can buy their way out of it. The Cubs, for years before they figured it out, could kind of buy their way out of shit if they needed to. There's a lot of teams out there that just cannot do that, and they can't afford to do that. And so, yeah, they are gonna potentially take a hard line here. So I don't know what the pecking order is amongst owners. I know that in NFL, Jerry Jones sits at the top, and he has a lot of pull and a lot of say. Fuck Stan Kroenke and him. By the way,
I would guess, based on the 94 strike, Jerry Reinsdorf still has a lot of pull.
Which is incredible, because he has what, 5,000-6,000 on a Monday night.
Well, and it would seem, I'm guessing, based on things that we've heard in the last several years, Bill DeWitt has a lot of pull. And this is not specific because we're talking about, because you're a Cardinals fan, and we have a lot of Cardinals fans who watch us. But if you look at what came out about Rob Manfred being hired, and that Bill DeWitt was a big motivating force in his hiring, that Bill DeWitt reportedly made some calls when it came to the hacking investigation. It would seem that those two are the names that you hear most often when you hear ownership talked about. I don't know that I get the sense that the Ricketts are part of that group.
I don't hear them.
It wouldn't surprise me if the Ricketts were one of those teams that were saying, guys, can we just play baseball?
Well, yes. And you're right, Pete. I don't remember reading an article or having both DeWitt and the Ricketts family mentioned in the same article, like, ever, or the same paragraph. So there's probably some truth to that. But, the thing about, it's probably not something I should go off on right now. I don't really intend to, but and I'm speaking to my own fans, because you know what, when all you can think up is and I'm gonna sound like I'm pro owner, and I know I have over the last couple weeks. I'm not, guys. I'm not. But I get tired of the laziness and the name calling, because honestly, when all you can default to is a nickname for somebody, you're in my opinion, you're too lazy to actually look up the facts. When you call Bill DeWitt DeWallet, that's just lazy shit right there. You actually don't know any detail. You just know that he didn't sign Bryce Harper, or he didn't sign Albert Pujols, and so he's DeWallet. You know what? Fucking read something, man. Just read something once in a while. I can't believe that he still carries that nickname when you look back in retrospect. I mean, you should look in retrospect at the Pujols deal and say, geez, Bill, thank you for closing DeWallet. Yeah, and that might not be the best example, but at the time it was. They have spent money. They've just done a really bad job of doing it over the last 3 or 4 years. They haven't spent good money. Paul Goldschmidt, the jury's still out on that, but you got Paul Goldschmidt. They're not unwilling to spend money. And when you traded for him, you extended him. So who didn't want, if you were going to trade and give up talent for a guy like Paul Goldschmidt, would Cardinal fans have been happy if they wouldn't have extended him in spring training? Or, before you call that bad money, I don't know. It drives me nuts. My own fan base drives me nuts. I love them. I appreciate most of the support, but we all have them, man. We all have a pocket of village idiots and jackasses running around out there, and they bark at headlines, and they don't bother reading anything or knowing about it. It's just, DeWitt's cheap. Really? No shit. Okay. Well, let's move on. What other ownership group do you want, Cardinal fans? We've got 4 World Series appearances under his ownership, and I realize it's a group. He's just a principal owner. 4 World Series appearances, the umpteen National League Central titles, a lot of division titles, the most wins since 2000. They're up there with like top 2 or 3 teams with the most wins since 2000. You got a brand new ballpark village around the ballpark that they put there when St. Louis downtown area was crumbling, with the exception of the old Busch Stadium. You got a new stadium. It's like, what more do you want? What other owner did you want in the sport? Did you want Jeff Loria? You're on mute.
Ron, yeah, I know. I think that there's just kind of a reflexive antagonism towards ownership. You alluded to it earlier. We feel closer to the players, right? They're the ones that we watch play. They're the ones that we get excited about. They're the ones who we identify with and that we feel like we know. We can't identify with the billionaire owner. Right?
Well, I haven't seen a lot of people with a Ricketts jersey in Wrigley Field, right? We don't pay to go see those guys. We pay to see the players. Yeah, you're right.
And you talked about how your fan base is unhappy with DeWitt. Look at how quickly the Cubs fan base has turned on the Ricketts family. Right? I mean,
that's a beautiful
they brought
thing.
The first World Series in 108 years. They turned this team around. They hired arguably one of the best executives in the history of baseball to lead the organization. and
it's unbelievable, really. It's unbelievable.
Coming up on 4 years removed from their first World Series title in over a century, and the fan base has started slagging on the Ricketts family. I mean,
I love it.
You couldn't write a funnier story.
No, you can't. I really thought that, boy, whoever's helming the Cubs when they finally win is going to be like, they're going to get a statue, and it's going to be like, that person's going to be like Jesus Christ, who came back to save the Cub fans only. And I would have thought in just a handful of years, 3 years later, 2 years later,
yeah,
that he's gone. No, you're no longer a fit here after you've brought the first title home in 108 years. We need to change direction. Like, it's no, I thought Madden would have managed there until he was dead. Like, literally, or until he got so batshit crazy. And I still want to see this. I want to see this, but I'm going to have to settle for possibly seeing it in an Angels uniform. And I honestly thought he's going to come walking out of that dugout one day. He's not going to have any shoes on or socks. He's going to have his pants on, and he's going to have no shoes or socks and no hat to go make a pitching change. I really thought that Zen motherfucker would show up like that, and then finally they would walk him gently. All right, Joe, we're going to go for a little car ride, and then drop him off at his home. I thought he'd be there forever.
Right.
The white robe and the slippers with his uniform on underneath, but no, yeah, you're right. No socks and shoes on.
Ron, that's kind of what they did. They kind of did walk him out to the car for the ride home. Because, come on, his idea of motivating the team last season was it the year before, was modern art reinterpretations of classic artworks. Like, how?
He's like Grand Admiral Thrawn.
The relevance to baseball?
He's like a Grand Admiral Thrawn without the red eyes.
I don't know a single Cubs fan who bought into that. I don't know a single Cubs fan who wasn't scratching their heads thinking, what the hell is he doing?
I don't know. I hope you hit record on your thing.
I've been recording.
Yeah. Because I just turned mine on.
I think I got your rant at Wirecast on tape, so we're good. We'll release that as an outtake.
I'm bitching about all these services and everything, and there's only one common denominator, and that's me. None of them work. And me, I'm the common denominator every time. All right, I don't want to steal. I don't want to take owner's side on this whole situation here, because I believe you're right, Pete. I couldn't agree with you more. They've screwed it up just as much. And I want to check our Facebook feed here and see if because usually if our broadcast isn't going well, we hear about it from a select group of individuals. So I'm just going to check that real quick. And
YouTube is good.
Over on YouTube, KC Show wants to know, what do you think of Matt Carp?
Okay.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I got a few. Look, Matt Carpenter was a pretty good role player for the team. It wasn't until they relied on him to be one of those pillars or one of those cornerstones of a lineup, of an everyday position player. When they relied on him to do that, that's when I think I feel at least the bottom dropped out on him. Now I know he was productive in 2018. Like, he had an unnatural, I don't mean PED related. I mean, just he had a stretch of several weeks and months there in the middle of 2018. We caught some of it at Wrigley Field, Pete, when we were there, where he was locked in and just he was pretty nasty. But
it's pretty obvious that the salsa is a PED. So there's that.
The only thing I heard about that salsa is it wasn't very good and it gave you the shits. I didn't have it because I don't live near the St. Louis area, but I heard it wasn't that great. And look, Matt Carpenter has always done everything the Cardinals have ever asked him to do. Hey, will you play second base? Sure. Will you play third base? Sure. Will you play first base? Sure. Will you play the outfield? Great. I'll play the outfield. He's hit anywhere where they've asked him to in the lineup. So you cannot knock the guy for anything, really. I point the finger more at the organization for saying, yeah, he's had a pretty good batting average and everything being at leadoff. So you know what? We're going to let Holiday walk. Carpenter, you're the guy. We can just plug you right into the 3-hole and you're going to hit just like you did at leadoff. And you're going to, you'll be a heavy producer in the middle of that. We'll put some guys on in front of you. So we'll sign Dexter Fowler to lead off and we'll figure out the 2-hole hitter. No problem, man. We're the Cardinals. We'll figure it out. And we've got Matt Carpenter. Beard looks awesome. Beard and salsa, man, just that's all we want to talk about. And it's frustrating. So I point my finger at the organization a little bit more that, you try to make this guy into something that he wasn't.
I tell you, as an outsider, I think the worst thing that happened to Matt Carpenter and to the Cardinals was that he had that insane 2018 season.
Because they extended him right after that.
Because expectations went nuts from the team and from the fans. And then when he didn't perform, the team was screwed because they had extended him, and the fans turned on him. You were absolutely right. He was the perfect complementary piece for that team.
Yeah, he was.
And now the expectations got set so high, and he's never going to attain them again. He had his career year.
Yeah.
And now anything less than that is a disappointment.
Well,
is underperformance, and that's not fair to him.
No, and I think that anybody that thought that mid-season performance in 2018, if you thought that was the norm, man, you're drinking something, and I want you to send me some of it out here. We should have known. I knew it. I think most level-headed fans knew it, that what he did in the middle of 2018, while sure as hell was a lot of fun to watch, you knew that wasn't the Matt Carpenter that's going to be there day in and day out. I had a coach tell me once, and I'm sure billions of coaches have said this to billions of athletes, you're never as good as you are on your best day, but you're never as bad as you are on your worst day. Those were Matt Carpenter's best days in the middle of 2018. He that's not him, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I just think that, to sum it up, they put him somewhere where he's not ideally suited for. He's not a 3-4 hitter. He's just not. And you either left him at leadoff or you put him in the back of the order, or maybe try him out in the 2-hole. But to try to rely on him to be your heavy run producer in the middle of the order, I think that ship sailed. They didn't let it sail when they should have. So that's it. But as on a personal level, he seems like a great guy. There's nothing to not like about him. He can't be your third baseman batting third. Derp. Yeah. Move on. I like the question, though. I mean, oh boy. You know what? Again, I'll repeat. We have said it 2 weeks ago. We're not talking about this damn sport as much anymore. And look what we're doing. We're like worse now.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've opened ourselves up to talking about the whole sport instead of just the Cubs and the Cardinals.
Well, they got guys, and I know the boring thing relates to St. Louis because Chris Bryant's a jackass, and everybody has their day.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about boring topics.
No, I'm telling you right now, the off season for the Cubs and the Cardinals was it not one of the more boring off seasons for both of our teams. Last year, it wasn't as competitive as what we really wanted it to be. The Cubs, they basically blew out a tire and Madden said, it's fine. Here, use my shoes. I'm just going to walk home barefooted. I'm going to read this poetry book on the way. He just gave up, and you guys didn't have much to cheer about at the end of the year. And if I'm being honest with myself, I'm like, I don't know how far this Cardinals team's going to get in the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to get all the way there. And even if they get all the way there, they're going to get their ass trumped by somebody in banging trash cans. I don't know, but I don't know. This last year wasn't that exciting. It was a frustrating team to watch. There were some highlights in players like Tommy Edman and seeing the young guys come up at the end of the year. But other than that, man, it was still one of those. It reminded me of the 2006 season where it was just kind of like, God, this team could be so much better with just a couple things done, and they just didn't do it. And then they're holding out hope that, some of these guys are just going to start playing great. I will say that it was surprised me that so many guys had such a shit year offensively. You would expect it, man. What are the chances of that happening again? Hopefully they don't. But I tell you what, right now, I wouldn't be terribly shocked if they do. And then in the instance of the Cubs, they didn't do much in this offseason either. They're trying to get under a cap, and so guys, you get to a point where I'm like, I don't even want to talk about this shit anymore, because every time I open up Twitter or anything else, people are saying, how much I miss baseball. Here are my top 10 moments in blah blah history, or here are my top 5 players, or I'm done.
I'm going to posit that maybe you need to stop saying that you don't want to talk about this shit anymore, because every time you say I don't want to talk about this shit anymore,
it's like a breakup, right? When you keep declaring that you're over her, all you do is think and talk about her, and that's basically what's happened to me. Is that somebody broke up with me, and I said, that's fine, I'm moving on. I'm going to go out to a bar.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
and then you find out that wound is festering, and it needs penicillin, antibiotics, everything else, and I don't know, but I don't know where they're going to net out. I just know that they're running out of days, and hopefully they don't. Now they're going to have to compete with a couple other sports that are actually going to be in the midst of their playoffs. Their ratings aren't going to be what they could have been. The attention they get is not going to be what it could have been, and just as those things are ending, guess what you get to fight with? Now you get to fight with football. So
not only that, regular season football, because the latest leak is that football is only going to have 2 preseason games, and then they're going to kick off.
You know what? Football should probably only have 2 preseason games.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's just going to make it all that much more difficult for baseball to grab anybody's attention.
So does Nick Foles become the starter after the first preseason game, or is it during the first regular season game that Nick Foles becomes the starting quarterback?
I don't know that starting quarterback matters in the preseason, but my money is that in that kickoff first game, Nick Foles takes the first snap from the center.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah. I was being a little facetious.
Get your Bears jerseys out.
Mark it down. Mark the time
right there. Yeah, no, I'll go out on a. It's not. I don't even feel like I'm.
Can I be complete?
Nick Foles will be the starting quarterback in game 1.
And you know what? Ian Happ's gonna hit 25 leadoff home runs this season if they start playing.
25. Wow, that exceeds the 16 from 2 years ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I like how the tires went flat on that one rather quick. But I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you guys. I just faced that moment where I didn't know something that I probably should have. I'm assuming Nick Foles signed with the Bears as a backup.
No, he got traded.
He got traded to the Bears.
He got traded, and then they reworked his contract. So that it's actually easier
I didn't know
for
that.
the Bears to cut ties.
I didn't know that, but I fooled you for at least 90 seconds that I knew that, right? But I didn't know that.
This was what, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. I didn't matter. I wasn't paying attention, nor have I ever. I'm so turned off by football that I have not been to. First of all, I don't have the NFL feed on my phone anymore. I don't have that app. I don't, and I probably had taken that app off my phone about week 5 last year. And I never never click on NFL on ESPN. And I know we said we're going to talk about all the sports, but my ass is dragging on following anything outside of baseball. I mean, I haven't done it yet. So I haven't put my money where my mouth is, clearly. So Nick Foles is the backup, yes, and I agree with you guys. He'll be the starter, which will signal, it'll be the flare that goes up that says, yes, we fucked up on our draft pick. And there it goes.
Well,
and everybody knows.
then you probably missed that they didn't extend or opt into Trubisky's final year of his contract.
Okay, so I'm late on that one too. The flare already went up.
Yeah, Trubisky's playing for his career basically this year.
Yeah.
Yep. This year, I mean, basically will determine whether Mitchell Trubisky is a starting quarterback in the NFL or a career backup.
Yep.
Yeah, you really have to ask the whoever runs the draft, please explain to us why you took Mitch Trubisky when you had these guys sitting out there. One of them, we won't mention his name, but it rhymes with Yahomes. Can you tell us why you didn't value this guy the same way you did this guy? Boy, what a
well, you know, so
and by the way, the Cardinals drafted Pete Kozma rather than Mike Trout.
Yeah, everybody makes mistakes. I've said this before. I don't know that I've said it on this show. But I've said this multiple times in talking about this. There were multiple services, multiple scouts who had Trubisky as the best quarterback in the draft. There was no consensus in 2017 about who the best quarterback was, and it was basically agreed that the Bears did need to get a quarterback. I don't necessarily have a problem with them screwing up their draft process and taking the wrong pick. I am a little frustrated with the stories that came out that their only contact with Deshaun Watson was a telephone call, and that they didn't even have the courtesy or the foresight to have dinner with him and to get to know him. That Ryan Pace was basically down to Mitchell Trubisky and Patrick Mahomes, and that was it. Mm-hmm. The problem I have is that they traded so much draft capital away to move up one slot. Like, if you were between Trubisky and Mahomes,
who cares?
If the 49ers take Trubisky, so what? Then take Mahomes. And that's not retrospect. If you honestly thought these were the top two quarterbacks in the draft and they were close enough for you, it doesn't matter. You're going to get one of those two. But Ryan Pace fell so in love with Mitchell Trubisky throughout the process that I think that he had created a blind spot, and he wasn't going into the draft of talking to all of his people, because John Fox, at the time the head coach, wanted Mahomes. But he wasn't looking for challenges to the conclusions that he had already made. Ryan Pace was looking for affirmation of the decisions that he had made, and anything that ran contrary to that, he wasn't taking seriously. So he was dead set on Trubisky, and he was going to do whatever he needed to take him. And not only did he hamstring the team by taking somebody who ultimately panned out to be a bad quarterback, but he hamstrung the team by trading away draft capital, which hurt the team's depth and quality long term. And that's the real problem I have with that draft.
I haven't read any comments about our feed tonight. Normally, CJ would be the first one to tell us our frames per second is off or our audio is bad. So, okay, I haven't read anything like that tonight, so we must be good to go. All right, Elliott, that's talking about the Bears is a perfect segue to the PS5, which you desperately wanted to talk about tonight. By the way, so anybody who's listening to this after the fact, Elliott a lot of the times won't bring a topic to us ahead of time. In fact, he rarely brings a topic to us while we're recording. He was adamant, though, that he gets a few minutes here to talk about the reveal, right? It's a reveal. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Reveal of the PS5. Yep. Elliott is a tech guy. He's in the innards of Best Buy, and so he's had eyes on this before many of us will. So he wants to give his thoughts on the PS5. So, Elliott, I will turn it over to you.
So, yeah, so it's not out until the holiday. So they did the reveal today, and I just kind of want to talk about it a little bit because I'm a nerdy tech guy, like Ron said. It's the games that are coming out for it look pretty ridiculous because they introduced a lot of their first party games that are being made by the companies that make these games specifically for PlayStation. They won't be on anything else. So
Is that a good ridiculous or a bad ridiculous, Elliot? I wasn't.
No, it's a good ridiculous. So
Okay.
fantastic graphics, really good sprawling open worlds, almost photorealistic in some way. So it's and my kind of thought was the next iterations of MLB The Show, Madden are going to look more photorealistic than they have in the past. We're long past the days of 8-bit Tecmo Bowl arguing over who gets to be the Raiders and get Bo Jackson, to actually having to do a lot of stuff when it comes to plays, drafting, that sort of thing, that it is that in depth now, where you're almost more of a manager of a team rather than actually playing it. I mean, your son talks about it all the time, about his managing and drafting of players through MLB The Show. These new game consoles with the PS5 is going to only enhance that to the next nth degree. So I just thought it was something cool that they had released today, showed what the console actually looked like, talked about it a little bit more in depth. No pricing, which was disappointing, but that was about it. So
I bet it costs less than Wirecast. Anyway,
rumor has it that it could cost anywhere between $5.99 and $6.99 for the next one.
oh, okay. So,
It's
There's a leak on an Australian website that says it's going to be $599 Australian dollars.
Yeah, the big thing with this new console is they
let me get my currency exchange app.
It's about $420.
Thank you. God damn it.
Yeah, so they put a lot of R&D.
I knew I was. I knew you'd already done that before you even
SSD,
mentioned that,
so-
didn't you? You already looked it up
Yeah.
before I even mentioned it, didn't you?
What?
You
The conversion?
data. You already did it, didn't you?
No. See, I use a Mac, and so all I had to do was just type it into the Spotlight search,
Mhm.
and it does it automatically for you. It's
Okay,
very
great.
impressive.
Sorry,
I got to
Elliot.
tell you, Elliot, as you were talking about it, I pulled up a website to look at it. That is an ugly piece of hardware, dude.
Yes, it
I
looks
do
like a
not want to
router.
put that up anywhere in my living room.
Really, I've got to see that.
It looks like a router. I don't like the design of it. I certainly don't like the controllers because those sticks are right next to each other. I like the staggered sticks on a controller. But you know what? The new Xbox that's coming out is just a black tower box. It looks like a PC box. So it's less design, but it's more sleek. It looks like a piece of equipment rather than that white skinny tower. I just
This is meant to be a statement, but like you look at the straight on
Yeah.
shot, and it's not even. There's nothing symmetrical about it at all. It's black and white, and it looks.
What?
Just looks
You guys
really,
must be
really
looking at
odd.
something different than I am. I'm going to try to share my screen. Again,
I will send you the link right now.
something that we should not. I'm looking at something right now, but something I should probably never do, and that is just simply try to do this on the fly. But I'm going to try to do it. No, I'm not going to try to do it. I'm going to end up shutting down our broadcast if I try to do that. So I'm not going to do that. But I'm looking at something that's all black. It's not black and white. I'm gonna butcher it trying to describe it. But
I've got it. So
I
I've
just
got
sent
it
you a link.
pulled up on mine. Let's see if I can do it.
You got it,
Can I
Ron?
do a screen share?
yeah, it's not what I was looking at. It was something looking
Yep.
entirely different.
Yeah. Not a good looking piece of equipment.
Well, and you can get past that if it works right? I mean,
I suppose.
guys, I tell you this right now. So the reason I'm not amped for this topic. Oh, Elliot's actually able to share it.
There you go.
Scoot it over.
See that?
Scoot
Does
it
it
to
look
you.
I see it.
Oh,
I see half
yeah.
of it.
Okay.
Hold on, let me just go to your picture, Elliot. There.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, well done.
I can give something how it looks. I can give it a pass. I don't really care how it looks, but does it work? Right. That's ultimately what things come down to. Do they work? Are they seamless? Are they easy to use? You know, and I would blame. I would point to Wirecaster and say, you know, is it easy to use? Then I have to throw the me factor in there, and that is Ron. It probably is easy to use by a 14-year-old, but not by me. So, look, I'll be honest with you guys. Gaming consoles, the last one I ever bought was a Wii. Before that, I think I owned the first Xbox. I did. And before that, it was the Super Nintendo. So, gaming for me is just I don't know why. I don't know why. I used to love it, but I just like I've not played 1 second of any Battlefront game, or except the one that you bought me, Pete. I believe as a birthday present, but it was a PC. It was the PC software, and I did do that one. But I'm like, on a gaming console, I've not played 1 second of any Battlefront game of MLB The Show or nothing. In fact, I've probably never played MLB The Show.
You ought to play with your son the next time he's around.
That would imply that Ron wants to spend any more time with any of his children.
That's not even the case. Look, it's for me my biggest problem. Other than the reason I can do this is because we do it at 10 o'clock at night on the East Coast. Everybody in my house, everybody. Well, that's my only time I can do it in total freedom in front of everybody that we're streaming in front of. But that's the only time I get to myself is on Thursdays at 10 o'clock. It's just hard for me. It's a time problem for me, and investing in a gaming platform has just been something I just haven't done. I wouldn't find the time to do it, and to drop $400 or $500 on something you're probably rarely going to get your hands on. I just don't.
Yeah, it makes it difficult.
Yeah, it does.
And I play with a lot of buddies from college still. So we were into it in college, and we just there's probably 5 or 6 guys that I will play with maybe a couple times a week, usually at night, maybe for an hour, and that's generally it. So I try to get in. It's kind of my wind down before I go to bed. Usually my wife goes to bed before me.
Sure.
So I got about an hour and 15 minutes before I usually go to bed after that. And I'll fire up either the PlayStation or my Xbox. So.
And I have to say, you know, you're absolutely right, Elliot. The images that they released with it are impressive. It really outstanding list of launch games that are going to be available at launch. And I think the Grand Theft Auto offer is ridiculous. I mean, that's going to be huge. You know,
so all those games that they talked about today, they're not all launch games.
Okay.
There's quite a few that will be late or probably 2021 into 2022, like the next Spider-Man. I think the ones that are going to be the launch that are kind of like the big ones are the new Horizon game, which I'm actually going through the first one on PS4 right now. Fantastic game.
All right,
and I think the new Ratchet and Clank.
Elliot, I don't mean to break in here, but I want to ask somebody who's on the phone a question, because I'm sure that he's caught wind that there is a PS5 being released and it's coming close to the holidays. So, Braden, have you figured out when you're going to start working your angle through you and your mom on asking me when we're going to get you a PS5? Have you started thinking about that yet? Is it going to be like October?
Well, you know what? I'm not even worried about it. I already know. I got some cash in the wallet right now. I got a PS4. I got a PS4 sitting in my room that I can easily sell. I have games that I don't want that I could sell, like MLB The Show 18. Horrible, terrible. Get out of my face. Disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible game.
You could take that to GameStop and get like $2 for it.
And then, it's around the holidays, like you said, so Christmas time, tipping towards that PS5, I'm gonna get a PS5 because I will buy a PS5 over an Xbox just to play Spider-Man because it is such an amazing game. The first one was fantastic. Ratchet and Clank's a classic. I played my childhood when I was little. That was one of my first video games I ever started playing.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. God of War is a really good story mode game. And I would say MLB, but MLB is actually coming to Xbox in 2021. So, but I will buy a PS5 just for the exclusives, because if you look at it, PlayStation has always had better games, exclusive games than Xbox. And Xbox always has a lack of content compared to PlayStation. I mean, PlayStation, when it comes to Call of Duty, always...
He hasn't even taken a breath yet, by the way.
On PlayStation.
He didn't even hear
when it comes, they always... PlayStation
he has no time to hear me.
Exclusive modes on PlayStation. GTA 5 just came out with a deal for exclusive PlayStation players. I mean, if you look at it, PlayStation always has an advantage when it comes to content or with exclusives over Xbox, and that's why you're going to see people get a PlayStation just to play Spider-Man, or just to play Ratchet and Clank, or just to play certain games, because simply PlayStation has better exclusives. There's one series that Xbox has an exclusive or PlayStation that's actually worth playing, with like Gears of War or something. Like, who cares? I don't. I'm not gonna buy an Xbox just to play Gears of War. I mean, PlayStation 5 all the way. I mean, I know it's pricey, but I don't care. I'm undefeated, never lost. I'm a big baller. I will sell an organ if I have to buy the system.
All right, so just real short.
That was a lot
to you.
Okay.
Not all that is exclusive to PlayStation. 1, 2. The only thing that PlayStation does have over the Xbox is single-player narrative-driven games, and there's like
which I prefer,
3 of them that are actually really good. Also, the exclusives that are besides Gears of War for Xbox, there's Halo, one of the largest gaming franchises in the world, which is also a pro-playing game.
Boomer. He called you a boomer for liking Halo.
Halo 5
Not
just
many
came
people,
out like
Halo's
3
not
years
as big
ago.
as it used to be. So, okay.
Halo, Gears of War, Forza Motorsport, which is actually one of the best racing games out on the market.
Yeah,
you like racing, you're a nerd. Nerd.
So
yes, he is.
Yes, I will not deny that.
Braden?
And here's the other thing:
if you like racing, you're a nerd, Pete. We got to save that one.
Owns Mojang, which is Minecraft, which is the largest gaming IP out there that makes billions of dollars. So
Minecraft isn't exclusive to Xbox.
No, but Microsoft owns it.
No, but you can still play Minecraft on PlayStation.
Hey guys, with all the talk, you know what I'm hearing right now? I'm hearing this. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I just heard, and I heard a little bit of this. That's what it sounded like. All of it, because I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I would rather play Spider-Man, God of War, Ratchet and Clank, or maybe even MLB if it doesn't become an Xbox game, over Gears of War, Halo, or whatever, because Halo is like a good franchise.
I still don't know what they're talking about, Pete.
It's not nearly as popular as in today's form as it used to be.
No,
like,
I was more thinking this.
Yeah.
Agree to disagree.
Well, that's just like your opinion.
And I mean, Forza's a cool game, but like, I find myself playing Forza for like one night after I ran out of every good game to play, and then it's like that's my last choice, you know? Like, it's like Forza's a game like where it's like bottom of the 18th, you have no one to bat, and then there's like that one guy scratching his butt that you totally forgot about on the bench. That's Forza for me. Like, oh yeah, let me play this game. You're my last hope, and then I'll do like a race or two, and then it's like, all right, I'm just gonna go to bed.
I
That's
don't.
the great thing about games. You play what you like, man.
I can't relate to anything that he just said. I don't even know what he's talking about. As far as I heard, butt scratching and nobody to bat in the 18th inning, and then I went to bed. That's what I picked up on.
A lot of metaphors there.
Yeah. So Braden, I was calling you because Elliott has gotten eyes on early eyes on PS5. So I was just wondering when you're going to begin to work your angle to.
The angle's already set.
So angles already. The traps
Angle's
are.
already
It's already
set.
set. It's already set.
It's a
The
trap.
mousetrap
Yep, that's
has
right.
been set.
Yep. Okay. Got it. Okay. Braden, are we going to have baseball this year or not? I'm going to give you 30 seconds. 30 seconds and I'm muting
what?
you.
You know, Rob Manfred said, "Oh, we're gonna have baseball. We're gonna have baseball." Well, if we're gonna have baseball, stop complaining over money like a bunch of schoolgirls. Give me baseball. I want to see it on my TV. Stop worrying about money. Worrying about trying to be one of the top sports back instead of put in the shadows by the NFL and NBA. Give me baseball, Manfred. Don't give me an awkward stare that looks like you're constipated. What you look like, that's what you look like in every photo that I see of you. Just give me baseball. I think you're a useless commissioner. Just give me the sport. I don't care about you or any of the tweets about plans.
I was pretty clear about 30 seconds, wasn't I? I know he doesn't have a stopwatch in front of him, but I had to cut him off right there. All right, Braden. So yes or no, we're gonna have baseball in 2020.
Baseball.
It's like if
That's
I
what I
asked
have to
you
say.
if you wanted hot or mild sauce, you just told me yes. Which one?
That's my
Baseball.
answer.
Yes,
Because
baseball.
that's how confusing all of this is.
Okay,
so
so
that's my answer.
You still couldn't. Okay, fine. So you don't know.
Nope.
Okay, fair enough. You could have just said that at the beginning, but that's fine. You were trying to give me a riddle. Yeah, we talked about it up front, and right now I believe we'll have it. I don't know if we'll like it or not. That's the unknown for me. I think it'll be there. I just don't think it risks highly to be there, a product that we don't care to see. And my fear is that baseball is going to lose interest from the casual fan, right? It had a golden opportunity to show up when no other professional sports were playing, or at least to be the first with line of sight, hype, talk, everything to get. And baseball was already behind. It had been behind for years. The curve, right? NBA, NFL, it was behind the curve in popularity, and it had an opportunity to recapture, I think, some of that. And now what's going to happen is people who have been without baseball in 2020 that were kind of into baseball but kind of not, they are at risk to walk away and not care, because they don't have enough emotionally invested, and they didn't come back at a time when they would have captured the interest of people that were kind of interested but kind of not. Now those people have figured out something else to do over the summer. They've figured out other ways to occupy their attention, or they've had other things that have occupied their attention. They've figured it out, and now baseball risks losing interest. And on any level, it's not a good thing. And I'm concerned about that, and I'm concerned about what happens down the road, right? And so we'll see, guys, because we're not going to hear, this is not over anytime soon. You know, I can hear the whisper in my head, it ain't going to be over anytime soon, because you got a CBA coming in 2022.
Keeps sticking his nose into negotiations.
You know what?
There's
Go ahead, Braden. Go ahead.
There's another problem with baseball, and as far as interest goes, you know what? All these NBA prospects and all these NFL prospects, people watch college basketball and football, and people know all these guys and all these. I'm a pretty hardcore baseball fan, I like to tell myself, but I'm sorry. I could never watch college baseball or know anything about all these high school players. I feel like all these new, young future of baseball, not many people or even casual fans really are invested in learning about these prospects through the MLB draft. Like, MLB draft is a huge deal. You don't see ESPN like, oh, the MLB draft, like everyone's getting hyped and, oh, what's his pick or what's that? It's because it's just MLB just does not hype up their players or their prospects or even their future at all. The only things I know about these players are, oh, this guy has big power or this guy's going to be good. And with baseball and the minor league system, everything's so unpredictable that I feel like they need to do a better job of investing in like the MLB draft. Like, I didn't even watch the first round of the draft. the NFL draft, the NBA draft, I'm like on the edge of my seat. I can't wait to watch the draft because everything.
Yeah, but
The prospects are
Braden,
so.
Braden, hang on.
Braden.
Let Pete cut in. Let Pete cut in real quick.
Braden, here's what the problem I think that is that we know going into it that it doesn't matter who they draft. You are not going to see that player most likely for at least 2 years. Right. This year might actually be different. You actually may see people get drafted and play this season. But in watching the NFL draft and watching the NBA draft, even in watching, the NHL to a lesser extent, because the NHL really is more like MLB. But in the NBA and the NFL, you get excited about those players. One, because those drafts are short.
You're going to see them.
Two, because you're going to see those players next year.
Yeah, Pete,
you are absolutely going to see them on the field that coming season.
Yeah.
And that is not true of baseball. So it's hard to get excited about somebody that you're not going to see for at least 2 years and probably 4 or 5.
Yeah, Pete, and you're absolutely right. You're 100% right. I was thinking the exact same thing. Not to take anything of the mental aspect of this game away from football or basketball, because I know, especially a lot of the skill positions, everything in football is, Jesus Christ, that was learning our game plan and learning what to do from game to game to game, even in high school, was a lot. And so I know that mentally you got to be prepared for everything, right? But baseball is such, and I don't know whoever said this, I think it was Yogi Berra, like so much of this game is mental, like 90% mental, right? And that takes time. Whereas in football, if you're a skill position player, you're nearly ready to go because college is so complex that the NFL and the speed of the game isn't as severe as it is going from amateur baseball to professional baseball. It's a whole different, and even low-level professional baseball to Major League Baseball, the speed of the game, the
aluminum bats,
but the mentality, everything, Pete. I mean, it's the approach, how people are going to pitch to you. Are they, there's a lot. Amateur baseball players, when they break into the professional, there's a time there where they need to get polished and they need to get seasoned. Whereas maybe in football, maybe in basketball, that there's not as much of a need for that. And you got to look at the lifespan of those sports too, right? In football, what's the lifespan of an average player? What's the lifespan of an average NBA player? And I don't know the difference between baseball. Certainly, if you would just compare those sports to baseball relievers, it would probably be about the same. But in general, you look at the lifespan, and so I'm not talking mortality rates, guys. I'm talking about lifespan as far as you're an active player. But there's got to be a difference there.
Ron, you're absolutely right. The average career length for a NFL running back, I've heard this recently, is I think it's 4 years.
Yeah.
For a running back. So don't get too attached, to whoever your team's latest running back is, because 4 years from now he's going to be gone.
Yeah. I mean, everybody loved Sean Alexander when they won the Super Bowl, and then he's just a handful of years later, he's not even he's not even talked about anymore. And in recent memory, Adrian Peterson's been one of the ones that's actually lasted a little bit longer, but I don't know that I can't name very many that stick with the league all that long, right? Not everybody's built like Jerome Bettis or Walter Payton or anybody else. So it's a tough position, and there's a very short lifespan to these guys. And so, Pete, you're right. Draftees in baseball you don't see them in uniform the next year. Very true. Also, I think that the marketing and the hype around college football and basketball is eons beyond where college baseball is at. Could be a product of those guys not showing up right away in Major League Baseball. That could be the reason why nobody follows, or not as many people follow as fiercely, college baseball as they do the other sports.
And also, it's hard to watch college baseball. It's not like college baseball is carried on weekends on ESPN.
No,
college football is everywhere. You can't miss college football during the season.
But I will tell you that if you do watch games in the College World Series, when they finally get to the World Series and playoffs, those are intense, man. And those teams are good. They make very few mistakes. I mean, but it's hard to watch any games prior to that. I mean, to be honest with you, it really is, guys. How many college baseball games did you guys attend? I can tell you right now, I attended 0.
I've been to one, and that was because there was a guy on my floor who played for ISU.
They had a team?
That's the only reason why.
Oh, Paul DeYoung went there. Of course they had a team.
No. He didn't end up being anybody. But
yeah, so there is quite the disparity, though, between the popularity of college basketball, football, and then by the time you get to baseball and hockey, college hockey, I mean, there's a chasm. I mean, there is a Grand Canyon between the popularity in those sports. So, yeah, the baseball draft doesn't get a lot of hype. And you know what? I think there's a good reason for that. I think for what you guys just highlighted. But Braden's not wrong. College baseball is not promoted. It's not aired in any prime time. It doesn't get a lot of spotlight because it's probably not going to generate a lot of revenue. So make those guys use wooden bats.
I also think it has to do with this generation wants to go to a game and have fast-paced play and wants to be excited and entertained fast, and that's not baseball. And it honestly sucks to see that a lot of the casual fans or people that just watch a football game or whatever, they don't see like the joys or the reason to watch a baseball game like we do. And it's like, most people could just watch an LSU versus Clemson game, even if they're not a fan of both those teams. But even me, I can't watch a full game of Tigers versus Orioles or even.
Elle would not be happy hearing you say that. No. Use a different team.
You attacked the wrong team there, Braden.
Yeah, you picked on another bird team. That's not good.
Like, it stinks how a lot of people don't appreciate the pace of play with baseball, because it seems like everyone in the younger generation from like 20 to my age to younger, you look at the tablet, like parents, including my dad, I've seen it happen live, put the tablet in front of a kid's face to just entertain them or keep them quiet that fast. I mean, everything is so fast-paced in today's world that it's just, people don't appreciate the real joys of baseball, and that's why it's not really put in a prime time as much. That's also a big reason.
I don't disagree with you, Braden, and in fact, you sound much older than a 15-year-old, as you just said that. But guys, I'll say this, right? And I know we're past time here, but I've been to every major sport. I've at least attended one game in every major sport, whether it be hockey, NBA, NFL, baseball, and it's maybe just the homer coming out of me as far as baseball goes. But there's nothing like walking into a baseball stadium. I've walked into the Panthers Stadium out here. I've walked into I can't remember what the San Diego Stadium was called where the Chargers used to play, but I've been out there.
It was Jack Murphy, wasn't it?
Was it Jack Murphy? I always get that confused with Joe Robbie. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it was Jack Murphy Stadium. And and I've been to the Superdome in New Orleans. And I tell you, there still is nothing like walking into a ballpark. And it almost doesn't matter which one you're walking into. It's expansive. It's familiar. You see the diamond. You know the dimensions. Like you know what's going on. And it is a shame that that's not appreciated more. And I don't know if it's so much related to this younger generation, because, to be honest with you, our generation raised this new generation. So if this new generation doesn't appreciate it, well,
might be our fault.
Might be our fault, or I like to typically blame it on the generation ahead of me. But boy, speaking of mortality, that's coming up in about 35 or so years.
At the longest.
Yeah, it might be shorter. It might be more like 25.
You also mentioned the like being familiar, like that familiar feeling when you walk into a ballpark. But I feel like it's almost hard to truly appreciate baseball and see the beauty in it if you're not a close or medium hardcore fan that like consumes baseball all the time. Because if you're going to take someone or someone's just beginning to watch baseball or just casually watches baseball, they don't see the joy of just turning on a game or constantly watching it like you could just randomly turn on a football game or a playoff NBA game or whatever. Like, it's hard to appreciate baseball as less than a casual fan, or maybe just a casual fan, when you like it's the pace of play and all that. It's you can't just casually get into it or not really that into it and appreciate it as much, because it doesn't click super fast, or you don't get into baseball super fast. Like, you have to know the game, you have to appreciate and love the game, and you have to get familiar with those things to actually see the beauty. Like, for me, when I started watching baseball and all that, like, I appreciate some things more now the older that I get, or the more that I watch baseball, than I did when I first started. So I feel like that's also a big reason why people aren't as big into baseball as they are now.
Braden, that's a really, really great point. Counterintuitively, throwing it back to the very first video to air on MTV, video killed the radio star, right? In the radio days, baseball was the king of sports.
Yep.
Because it is the best sport for radio, right? It's slow enough that it allows your imagination to put you there in the ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
Football, basketball, hockey, they move too fast for radio. They don't translate nearly as well on radio, but baseball does. And so when we were a radio nation, baseball was the dominant sport, far and away. And once video and television became ubiquitous, and counterintuitively, once baseball started being shown more on TV, it actually became a less popular sport. And I think why is because baseball became regional at that point. Because you could watch every single game of your team, and so you stopped paying attention to the other teams, and it stopped being a national game. And that I think ultimately is going to be the story of baseball's demise.
Yeah,
that and the fact that they can't stop arguing over money.
Yeah, and Pete, that's it's one of the better points we've actually ever raised on this show, and that is the regionalization of this sport. Because you're right, before the Fox Sports things and the Comcast and everything became a thing, like, we got it sparsely, right? We had to rely on the radio broadcast, and it wasn't until the playoffs where you knew you were going to get to see your team every time, or it wasn't until they played the Cubs, which were WGN, but that was nationwide. I mean, shit, you could live in California and you got WGN, or you got TBS when they played the Braves. I mean, that's what you were limited to. And then you had Game of the Week, right? Where you had Game of the Week where it was random, but you got to see, you got a glimpse of other teams. And so there was some mystery there too. When you don't have access to your team every day, and you only do it, and you only have access once a week, or once a month, like, you're going to be there. You're going to be there, and you're going to watch. So yeah, the dynamic. It's a very, very interesting dynamic.
Think about it. Fast forward 20 years, right? And you play the Sandberg game in 2004. No big deal. It maybe gets a 1-minute highlight package on SportsCenter, but so what? Ryan Sandberg hit 2 home runs off one of the best closers in the game, and the Cubs, kept coming back and won in extra innings. So what? That happens every day, right? But it was the game of the week. Anybody who was a baseball fan was watching that game, and it was just insane.
Yeah, you're right.
After that game, everybody in the United States knew who Ryan Sandberg was, and that just wouldn't happen now.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the other problems is the some of these regional teams gating out their games for their fans in the area that they live in.
Ron knows all about that.
Yeah, I know too much about it. Here's my prediction, guys. We can look into the year. I used to love that bit on Conan O'Brien when they, in the year 2000, when they wear the necklace with the lights on it and shine the flashlight. I think in the year 2000, this blackout thing is going to be gone. The regional cable thing is going to be gone, and it's going to be access to everything. You're going to have to pay for it, but you're going to be able to watch every sport, every team, every game, and it's going to be available. And so,
except for marquee,
that's not going to fix the problem you were pointing out, Pete, because it's never going to be like that again. There's too much out there now. There's too many ways to see things that you couldn't see before, and so there's all kinds of shiny things that can distract us. And so, I don't know. Sports changing. I don't. Hopefully, we don't come across as a Debbie Downer show this episode that baseball is doomed. It's going to fail.
But
We didn't talk about any Star Wars news tonight because I don't think there's anything really to highlight other than a couple of YouTubers out there who I think they're making shit up. But that's fine. We should start doing that too.
Them next week.
Yeah, and Braden knows his name. It's Mike Zero.
Oh, that guy.
Subscribe for future Star Wars content.
That's right. He says it better than I do. For future Star Wars content. Yeah, that's him. You're right.
So Ron, let's just completely put a cap on the Debbie Downer of this episode. We should be in London.
I know.
Think about that. Right now, we should be in London.
Yeah. We should start getting ready to talk trades and who's on the trade block.
Yep. Who's performing, who isn't.
If not all of us, at least one of us should be doing tonight's podcast from London. And everything has just gone completely down the shitter.
That's right.
Yeah.
It really has. Thank you for bringing it up and highlighting it like that.
You're welcome. On that note, when we're not live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, you can find us anywhere and everywhere. Our website is teamarivalspodcast.com. We're on Twitter at Team Arrivals Pod, on Instagram, and on Facebook at Team Arrivals Podcast. You can send us an email at the show at teamarivalspodcast.com, or you can find Elliott on Twitter at
TOR_Elliott.
And you can find Ron at
TOR_Ron.
75.
And Braden, where can everybody find you?
On the PS5 when it comes out.
Nice. You won't find me on Twitter, so don't waste your time searching. If you are watching us live, you can also catch us anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts, or you can tune in to, tune in. If you love the show, subscribe, unsubscribe, then resubscribe. And after you've done that, go on over to ratethispodcast.com/TOR, follow the simple instructions, and leave us a great review. And with that, Ron, it's been fun.
I want to tag on a little bit to that, Pete, because we have nearly 1,200 followers on Facebook. I know that some others have thousands and thousands and thousands, whatever, but we have 1,200 people.
Thousands.
We have 1,200 people following us on Facebook. So what would be great is that if you guys go to your podcast app, just subscribe to our show. Because I know even if you watch it live here, just let it download on your phone, and you can change those settings. You can say, hey, you know what? Only download the most recent and then delete everything after that. It won't take up any memory on your phone. Do it for us. Do it for the cause. I don't really know what the cause is, but do it for the cause and help us out because we'd appreciate it. We want to get those numbers up. And you know what? We'd appreciate a review. If you want to leave us a rating or review, that would be awesome. Just hit the 5-star thing. If you want to leave a review, dog on us a little bit, go ahead, but still leave it a 5-star, please.
We're looking at you, Yakey.
Yeah, that's right. And
Zombie Hunter. Where's your review?
Or Zombie Hunted is what CJ's title is. Zombie Hunted, because he was under attack. I think he's all right. I saw him on here, so he survived the short.
He's turned it around. I think he's now. I think the hunted has become the hunter.
He's like Daryl, from Walking Dead. That guy, the crossbow.
Right. Sure.
I get that right?
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay. I don't know either, Pete. I go off internet posts
with the cut off leather jacket and the wings.
Sure, that sounds right.
Oh, that doesn't sound homoerotic at all. Just
nice.
saying.
Great way to end it. All right, Braden, thank you for answering your phone and talking to us a little bit tonight.
Yeah, great job tonight, Braden.
Yeah, he was spot on, man. He was ready to go.
He didn't stop talking. But
glad I called him. Glad I called him. He didn't call me, but glad
Yeah.
I called him. So, is he hung up already?
Nope. Hey, MLB the show, man. MLB the show is an addiction.
Okay. All right. You know what? We'll be back at this next week. Hopefully, we'll provide a better show for you. We'll try to do something fun. Maybe not so Debbie Downer next week. We'll put. I'm not going to put Pete in charge of that. I'm going to put Elliott in charge of that because he's probably going to be better at it than either me. Yes, Elliott. I'm asking you to do homework for next week's show.
I'm on it.
I don't believe you.
In his mom's dress.
We got
in his mom's dress. It was a blouse, by the way. All All right, guys.
I got some Elliott homework for you before we go.
Pretty much Ian Happ has the job. And if he gets 600 at-bats at leadoff this year, he's probably going to lead the game off at least 15 times this year with a home run, and that's just at leadoff.
It is out of the realm of possibility. He is not.
Yeah, I see. I was right.
Leadoff home. This one's going to come back, and it's going to be fun.
Pete, I'm so glad you had that queued up. That's the best.
Perfect.
That's a great way to go out.
It is. All right, everyone.
Don't
we will
forget Walker's breakout year. That's something that my dad predicted back when the Team of Rivals archive season 1.
We'll have to go dig that one up. I don't remember that one at all. All right, everyone. We appreciate all who joined the live feed tonight, and we will talk to you next week. Same time, same place. Love you all so much. Bye-bye, everyone.